Hello, my name is Rosalina Diaz, and this is my presentation, Alma y Pueblo, Educational Disparity of Caribbean Latinas in New York City Schools. There has been a tendency for researchers to homogenize very diverse groups under the label of Hispanic or Latino. This classification lumps together a wide variety of immigrant histories, colonial legacies, racial and ethnic groups, and social classes. There is an urgent need to disaggregate and examine academic outcomes based on historical, sociocultural, and economic context due to the tendency of academic disparity to align with nationality. This research addresses questions regarding the continued low educational achievement of mainland Puerto Ricans, particularly in comparison to that of other Latino Caribbean groups of similar ethnic, racial, cultural, and historical backgrounds. As of 2008, over 20% of students in the U.S. schools are Hispanic Latino. By 2050, this number will increase dramatically by 166%. Latinos living in the U.S. have been the most educationally disadvantaged group for the last 30 years. In 2001, only 61.3% of Latinos graduated high school, according to the National Council for Education Statistics. In 2002, only 30% of Latina girls in New York City graduated high school on time. Overall, New York City Latino families have lower household incomes than either African American or white families. Over 1/3 of Puerto Rican and Dominican families live in poverty. The national average for high school graduation is 90%, compared to the national Hispanic average at 79%. The national average for Puerto Ricans is 83%. BA attainment or greater, the national average is 27.7%. The Hispanic average is 12.9%, and the Puerto Rican average is 16%. Latino researchers have consistently asserted the importance of national and cultural linkages for the academic success of Latino students. Anthrop, Gonzalez, Garrett, and Velez of the University of Wisconsin have identified 4 factors that contribute to the academic success of Latino students. These are strong cultural identity, acquisition of social capital through religion and participation in school and community-based extracurricular activities, a strong maternal influence, and the potential for supportive teachers and/or school staff. My own prior research supports these findings and further postulates that for the majority of Latino students, academic success is almost wholly dependent on how well they are able to activate support structures in achieving their objectives. Latino groups differ in their ability to access these very important support structures. My methodology, this study, was entirely ethnographic and qualitative and consisted of individual and focus group interviews with 12 participants from 3 separate nationalities, Puerto Rican, Cuban, and Dominican, and their families over a 1-year period from 2008 to 2009. The participants were recruited via the internet, websites, university postings, and word of mouth. All participants shared the following characteristics. They were all female, were raised in lower to lower middle working class families, ranged in age from 20 to 35 years, were of Caribbean and Latino origin, were 1.5 or second generation American, and all but one had acquired at least one post-secondary degree. My research questions were, to what degree do nationality and culture impact upon the educational achievement of Caribbean Latinas? How and why do Latino groups differ in their ability to attain educational achievement? My expected outcomes were that comparatively higher levels of academic achievement would be correlated to increased social and cultural linkages of students and their families, and that there would be a history of severe cultural and or familial disconnect for lower achieving subjects, either as individuals, groups, or both. My project design was based on individual interviews. I and/or a research assistant met with each subject for 2 sessions of 2 to 4 hours to assess the participants' ability to use relational and interconnectivity strategies to their advantage in school and in life, as well as collecting relevant educational and personal background information. Family interviews were focused on issues related to relationships, educational achievements, goals, attitudes, and conflicts related to school, family, and cultural identity. The group interviews were according to nationality. Each of the 3 respondent focus groups met 2 times, 4 to 6 hours each time. We discussed historical, social, and cultural issues specific to their national group and relevant to their academic experiences. The final group included all the participants and met for approximately 6 hours to discuss issues that were common to all 3 groups and to examine and evaluate differences among the groups. My initial findings: there were no significant differences regarding the socioeconomic status, parental educational levels, religious participation, or type of school attended, whether it be public, private, or parochial across the groups. The Puerto Rican participants were more likely to be raised in intact but dysfunctional homes, to experience a cultural identity crisis during adolescence, to form peer bonds with pan-ethnic Latino or African American youth, and to engage in early sexual activity, pregnancy, and marriage. All the Puerto Rican participants were married or in a long-term relationship. One had a child, and two became pregnant during the course of the study. The Dominican participants had the strongest cultural ties to their country of origin and the most cultural and community affiliations. They were the most likely to speak Spanish, most likely to be raised in single-family homes with strong maternal influence, and have more diverse, non-gender specific academic goals. They highly valued hard work and financial independence, and only one of the Dominican participants was married, and none had children. The Cuban participants were more likely to be raised in intact but troubled homes with weak father figures and male siblings, to have a strong cultural emphasis on educational achievement to the exclusion of other social activities, to be in peer groups. Peer groups tended to be school-related and multi-ethnic, and none of the Cuban participants were married, and none had children. And they were more likely to say that high academic achievement was a Cuban thing. Research implications. At the familial level, at the close of the final interview of this study, the participants were asked to write down the 2 factors that they felt most contributed to their academic success. All but one wrote down familial support as their first choice. This factor was deemed more important to the participants than cultural, national, economic, or school factors. The schools that are most successful at promoting the high achievement of Latinos are those that reinforce the values and goals of the home environment and work in partnership with the parents to achieve these mutual goals. By either supporting or undermining parental authority, the school impacts very strongly on the educational outcomes of Latinas. Cultural. The theoretical assertions correlating academic success with cultural maintenance were not borne out in this study. Cubans, who are more likely to assimilate and self-identify as white and/or American, had the highest academic achievement rates. National and social issues regarding the historical, political, and social context of group status in the United States do appear to play a significant role in academic achievement. Puerto Ricans who are in a colonial relationship with the United States had the most oppositional relationships with the American school system. They were more likely to cut class, have teen pregnancies, and drug use, and were more likely to say that they did not care about academic success. I didn't have the drive to be particularly successful. I was just going through the motions, just to please my parents. Dominicans who came as immigrants for greater economic opportunities and Cubans who came as refugees both had a more favorable perspective of the United States and were more likely to strive for success regardless of environment. Cubans, this is a quote, Cubans came to the U.S. for political reasons, not economic. We feel grateful to the U.S. for the opportunity to be here, and so you expect great things of yourself regardless of how people perform around you. Stereotypes, assumptions, and conclusions. The purpose of this study was to determine what factors impacted on the academic achievement of Latinas, and why some nationalities, Cuban, consistently did better than others, Puerto Rican, on recognized indicators of academic success, such as graduation rates, test grades, school persistence, etc. Where both I and the participants learned is that success, academic or otherwise, is not so easily defined or determined. By the conclusion of the study, the Cuban girls expressed sincere respect and even envy toward the Puerto Rican girls for their ability to maintain and balance close personal relationships, spouse and children, academic achievements, and careers, while they themselves had been so fixated on academics that they had isolated themselves socially and limited their prospects for real and lasting happiness. In a world with so much financial instability, political turmoil, and unrest, perhaps this study is an indicator that the time has come for academics, educators, and researchers to assess academic success more holistically and to begin to rethink the purposes of education. If you need further information on my research study, please contact me at Medgar Evers College, rdiaz@mec.cuny.edu. Thank you.